2019 has been a big year to discuss criminal justice reform in Pennsylvania, and unlike a lot of issues in Harrisburg, this important topic has bipartisan support. You want proof? We have a Democrat and a Republican joining us on the Fox 43 Capitol Beat to discuss. We have Democrat Jordan Harris from Philadelphia and Republican Sheryl Delozier of York and Cumberland counties. Thank you so much for joining us this morning. I want to ask the obvious question of how you guys got together on this first, but why is this such an important conversation to have, and how much of an issue is criminal justice reform in Pennsylvania?
Well, I think that they have a lot to discuss. There's a lot of common sense changes that can be made. And a lot of the changes that we are talking about are ones that we're taking a look and re-examining the criminal justice system and saying, where can we make these changes and let government get out of the way of people getting jobs once they come out of prison. And but I will say this, how we got together, we kind of got thrown together. We hadn't worked together on another issue, and this was something that we came together and had a lot of conversations about, and became friends over, and we fight when we need to disagree.
Right.
But for the most part, that's the one thing with criminal justice. It can be bipartisan and it can be across the aisle.
It's kind of the odd couple, for lack of a better term. I mean, but
we've been called that before. Yes.
But also, you don't judge a book by its cover. Yeah. And the work that you guys are doing, Jordan, when Sheryl, when you started having this conversation with Representative Delozier, what was your reaction that she's like, let's work on this?
Well, I mean, the truth is, there are a lot of times where in the legislature you think that you won't agree, but that's why conversation is necessary. And when you talk to folks, you finally understand that there are a lot of things that you have in common. Sheryl is very big on victims' rights and has been a victims advocate for years. And in the midst of that is still able to see that there is a time when a person has paid their debt to society that we have to rehabilitate them and get them back into our community. So Sheryl and I have been able to work together to find a common ground on criminal justice reform.
Is it safe to say the Clean Slate Act was kind of the jump-off point on this?
Oh,
all right, so let's kind of just recap real quick. The Clean Slate Act, it passed last year, correct?
Yeah.
And just refreshing everyone's mind, this case wipes cases from public databases. That includes where people were found not guilty, in some cases nonviolent crimes. If you have some assaults that happened a decade ago, that could get you're eligible to basically get a clean slate. So that was the jump-off point. What's now next for the two of you? Sure.
So we did Clean Slate, and the beauty of it is by June of 2020, more than 30 million records will be sealed in Pennsylvania for folks. 30 million by June of 2020, automatically.
What does that do for people trying to get jobs?
Well, what it does, several things. One, when you go apply for a job, you can now say no if your record has been sealed. When it asks you to check the box if you've been convicted. And quite honestly, people are getting a fair shot at employment. But to your question, Clean Slate was just a start. We're also working on probation reform because we believe that our probation system is flawed and we need real changes so that we can get people back into communities. And we're working on reforms to our professional licensing system. Many people are coming out of jail, coming out of our prison system. They have education, they have a skill set, but because our licensing is so archaic, they're not able to get licensed in Pennsylvania to do what we know they have the talent to do.
So one of the things I was in kind of researching this topic, came across some numbers, and you guys are probably familiar with the Pennsylvania Prison Society, and some of the numbers that they put out, which says that the prison population in the state has gone up 840% over the last 40 years. It's costing taxpayers $2.4 billion a year just to fund the prison system. How do you fix that? Is that something that the two of you work on?
Well, one of the issues with the bill is the issue of violation. So if somebody is out and they've possibly gotten a job and they've gotten a place to live and they're back with their families, and then all of a sudden one of the examples that we've used is the fact that being late to an appointment can violate an individual and send them back to prison. And in our minds, it's a matter of that common sense theme, in the sense that is it cost efficient to say you need to go back to jail because you were late to an appointment? Doesn't mean that there shouldn't be repercussions, and they need to follow the rules and figure out exactly what they need to be doing to abide by them. But the bottom line is still, where is it better for our society? Should government be throwing them back into prison where it costs us $40,000 a year to house them and feed them? Or should we be saying, look, that wasn't what you needed to be doing. We need to be going Because if you throw them back in, they lose that job, they lose that apartment, and they lose that relationship that they have with their family. What are we to gain? We want them working. The reason that most people reoffend is because with a new crime is because they don't have a good job. Government needs to get out of the way. Government doesn't need to be the one saying because you were late to an appointment or another minor infraction. We're not talking about new crime. We're simply talking about the fact that they were late. So the ability for us to make that common sense change makes sense not only for the families that are affected, the individual, but also our communities. We want them out earning money and paying taxes and being good citizens.
Jordan, how much of an issue do you see this in your district, which is predominantly black?
It's a huge issue, but for me, it's not a black or white issue. It's a green issue. A lot of times, what we see is it's an issue around class. So for us, what we've done is we've gone from Philadelphia to Pittsburgh and everything in between, talking to people, listening to stories, and hear them tell us about the issues with our probation system, where we're spending $100 million a year on technical violations. Again, not new crimes.
Right.
Technical violations, $100 million. I think Sheryl and I both agree that we can spend that money in a better way than sending somebody back to jail for a technical violation.
It is the Criminal Justice Reform Caucus, and it exists in the Senate as well. It's not just the House, and it exists in the Senate.
Bicameral, bipartisan.
Yes.
Which is great. Everyone can agree is great to see in Pennsylvania, especially in this divisive political world that we live in. Jordan Harris, Sheryl Delozier, thank you so much for joining us on the Fox 43 Capitol Beat.
Thank you.
And we'll be right back with more Fox 43 Morning News.